Lieutenant Aaron Vale had traveled farther than any human had ever dared. He had crossed countless stars, left Earth behind, and entered the territory of the Zyrili, a species known across the galaxy for their brilliance, beauty, and ruthless pride. Yet nothing in his military or diplomatic training had prepared him for what awaited him on this day. The transport pod landed softly on the translucent floor of the Zyrili palace. Aaron stepped out into a hall that seemed made of crystal and light. The walls shimmered with colors he had no names for, and the ceiling stretched endlessly like the sky of another world. At the center of it all sat the Queen, and the moment he laid eyes on her, Aaron felt a strange mix of fear and awe. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her body was tall and lithe, covered in scales that caught the light like polished gemstones. Her eyes were large and glowed faintly, like twin moons reflecting distant stars. Her movements were smooth, regal, and impossible to imitate. Even from a distance, he could feel the power radiating from her. The council of Zyrili elders and advisors stood behind her, their forms strange and shifting, but their attention focused entirely on Aaron. He could feel their judgment, the weight of centuries of tradition pressing down on him. And then the Queen spoke. Lieutenant Aaron Vale, her voice echoed in the hall, deep and melodic, vibrating in his chest. You have come far, and yet your journey is only beginning. I have summoned you not as a diplomat nor as a soldier, but as something entirely different. Aaron swallowed. Your Majesty, I am honored. I do not understand. Her glowing eyes fixed on him. I seek a mate for my line, and not just any mate, a human. The words struck him like a thunderclap. Around him the council whispered, their tones filled with disbelief and curiosity. A human? Chosen by the Queen herself? It was unheard of. Humanity had been considered primitive by many advanced species, capable of nothing more than stubbornness and survival instinct. And yet here he was standing in the most sacred hall of the Zyrili, being told that his species was desired above all others. Why? Why a human? Aaron asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The Queen's tendrils shifted gracefully as she leaned slightly forward. Because your species possesses something unique. Courage, yes, but more than that. Compassion, adaptability, a willingness to face the impossible and endure. My line must inherit these qualities, and only a human can carry them forward with balance. Aaron's mind raced. He had faced dangerous missions, negotiated with hostile species, and survived battles that should have ended his life. But this was different. This was personal. This was a call that went beyond duty. It was a demand from the universe itself, placing humanity in a role he had never imagined. He looked at her carefully, trying to see past her imposing presence. And there it was, a loneliness in her eyes, a quiet desperation that even a human could recognize. She was not just a ruler seeking strength. She was a being searching for connection, someone to share her life, someone who could bring hope and balance to her future. The council murmured again. One elder stepped forward, its form a shimmering cascade of light. Your Majesty, this is highly irregular. No other species has ever been granted such favor. Are you certain? I am certain, the Queen replied, her voice firm but calm. I do not seek the usual. I seek the extraordinary. If humanity is to prove its worth, this is the path it must take. Aaron swallowed hard. He had always been trained to follow orders, to protect, to fight. But this was not about orders. This was about trust, about courage of a different kind. He felt the weight of every human who had come before him, of every struggle and triumph, pressing down with a sudden, heavy significance. He bowed deeply. Your Majesty, I will do my best. I cannot promise perfection, but I will honor the trust you place in me. The Queen's eyes softened, a faint glow warming the air around her. That is all I ask. The journey will not be easy, human. You will face challenges, trials, and tests. But know this. If you succeed, you will not only change your life, you will change the destiny of your species. Aaron's heart pounded. Fear warred with pride, uncertainty with determination. He had never felt so small and yet so vital at the same time. He realized for the first time that humanity's strength was not just in weapons or technology, but in something far deeper. The ability to endure, to love, to rise when all odds seemed against them. And as he looked at the Queen, standing tall and radiant in the center of her throne room, he understood that this was a moment that could define not just him, but all of humanity. a moment that would prove that humans could shine, even among the stars. He straightened, inhaled deeply, and prepared to face the unknown. The universe was watching, and humanity had just been given a chance to show what it was truly capable of. The days after Aaron's acceptance were not easy. The crystalline halls of the Zyrili Palace, once dazzling, now seemed intimidating. Every step he took echoed with the weight of responsibility, and every glance from the Queen reminded him of the choice he had made, a choice that could shape not only his life, but the future of humanity. Aaron spent long hours walking the palace corridors, studying the alien architecture, the shimmering walls, and the strange devices that hummed with energy he could barely understand. He had faced hostile planets, alien soldiers, and deadly negotiations, but nothing had prepared him for the emotional weight of this task. He was to be more than a diplomat, more than a soldier. He was to become the mate of a species' most powerful being, the progenitor of a new line. At night, he found himself on the palace balcony, staring out at the endless stars. The view was breathtaking, but it offered little comfort. He could see entire galaxies stretching in every direction, worlds humans had only dreamed of reaching, and among them he wondered, where would humanity stand? Could they truly rise to meet the challenge the Queen had entrusted to him? His thoughts often returned to the Queen. She was brilliant, commanding, and terrifyingly beautiful. But beyond her strength, he sensed vulnerability, a quiet yearning for connection that mirrored his own fears. She carried herself with confidence, yet in her eyes he sometimes glimpsed a shadow of loneliness, the kind only beings with immense responsibility could know. The Council of Elders was not quiet about their doubts. In the council chambers, creatures of every form and shape gathered, whispering, questioning, and scrutinizing. Some viewed Aaron with suspicion. A human? For the Queen? One elder asked, its voice like chimes in a storm. We know their history. They are unpredictable, emotional, weak compared to us. Aaron felt the sting of their words, but he did not reply. He had learned long ago that proving oneself often required patience and action, not argument. Yet the doubt gnawed at him. Could he truly be what they needed? Could one human, even the strongest of them, carry the hopes of an entire species? Then came the moments of discovery. The Queen began inviting him to her private chambers, not for ceremony or protocol, but for conversation. She spoke of her people, of their struggles, of the weight she carried as their ruler. Aaron listened, sometimes in silence, sometimes asking questions that required him to think, to connect, to understand. You are human, she said one evening, her voice soft, almost vulnerable. And that is why I chose you. You feel deeply yet act with reason. You are capable of compassion, even in the harshest situations. You endure when others would break. That is what I need for my line. Aaron looked down, unsure how to respond. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, a soldier, a negotiator. But here, under the gaze of a queen, he felt extraordinary in ways he could hardly comprehend. I don't know if I am enough, he admitted. I've survived battles, I've led missions, but this is different. This is life itself. I fear I might fail you, or worse, fail humanity. She reached out, a tendril of her form brushing lightly against his shoulder. Fear is not weakness, she said. It is what makes your courage meaningful. Your doubts are the reason I chose you. You are human, and humans are remarkable because they confront uncertainty and keep moving forward. That is strength the galaxy often underestimates. Her words struck him deeply. He realized that the challenge was never just about alien rules or alien strength. It was about human spirit. Humanity had survived disasters, wars, and impossible odds on their home planet. They had built, destroyed, and rebuilt, always moving forward despite fear, loss, and uncertainty. That resilience, that courage, that capacity to endure, these were qualities the Queen had seen even when he had not. Days turned into weeks. Aaron trained not only his body but his mind. He learned the customs of the Zyrili, their language, their rituals, and even their subtle ways of measuring loyalty and courage. He faced simulations designed to test his decisions, his compassion, his adaptability. Each time he succeeded, he felt a growing confidence, not arrogance, but a quiet certainty that humanity's potential was real, and that he could represent it. And through it all, the Queen observed. Not as a ruler judging a subject, but as someone searching for connection, someone seeking the qualities that would define the future. Occasionally, she would join him on the balcony, and together they would look at the stars in silence. In those moments, Aaron felt a strange peace, as if the weight of responsibility was shared, even just a little, with someone who understood the burden of vision and hope. One night, as the twin moons of the Zerilli world rose in the sky, Aaron realized something important. Fear and doubt were not enemies to be conquered. They were reminders of the stakes of the lives and futures depending on him. And if he could face these fears with courage, if he could act with compassion even when everything was uncertain, then perhaps he could rise to meet the challenge set before him. The path ahead was still uncertain. The council, the court, and even the Queen's own expectations loomed over him. But Aaron Vale, a human among gods and kings, felt a spark of determination he had never known. He would prove that humanity was not weak. He would show that humans could rise to greatness even among the stars. And with that thought he turned from the balcony, his resolve firm, his heart beating with hope. The journey had only begun, and he was ready to face whatever the universe would throw at him. The palace had grown quieter now that Aaron had settled into his role. The council still watched him, their whispers like shadows in the hallways, but the Queen's presence had become a constant that steadied him. Each day she invited him to her private chambers, not for ceremony, but for conversation. At first the talks were formal, questions about human history, strategy, and culture. But slowly they became more personal, more revealing. Aaron began to understand the depth of her loneliness. She ruled a species that spanned galaxies, and with that power came isolation. Every decision, every word, every action carried consequences for billions of lives. She had advisors, generals, and scholars, but few could truly understand the burden she bore. In her eyes, Aaron saw a mixture of pride, sadness, and longing, a desire for connection that resonated deep within him. "You carry the weight of your species on your shoulders," he said one evening, as they walked among the glowing gardens of the palace. "And yet you are so human in your feelings. You long for someone to understand you, to share that weight." The Queen's tendrils shifted softly, brushing the luminous petals of alien flowers. "It is true," she said quietly. "I have ruled for centuries, but I have never known companionship like this. Your presence, it is unfamiliar, but it is comforting. You see me not only as a ruler, but as someone capable of love, of connection." Aaron felt a warmth in his chest. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, even flawed. Yet the Queen's words made him feel extraordinary in a way he could not explain. He realized that what she sought was not perfection, but courage, honesty, and the willingness to face fear together. Their connection grew slowly, each conversation building trust. Aaron began to notice small details about her. The way her eyes softened when she spoke of her people, the subtle curve of her tendrils when she was thoughtful, and the rare moments when she allowed herself to laugh. For the first time he saw the Queen not as a deity or a figure of awe, but as a being with hopes, fears, and a longing that mirrored his own. But the palace was not without its challenges. The council was divided and factions within it were growing restless. Some elders feared the humans' influence on the Queen, while others doubted that Aaron could truly understand the complexities of Zerilli culture. They devised subtle tests, pushing him into situations where failure would be obvious, where a misstep could prove humanity unworthy. The first test came in the form of a crisis. A minor star system on the edge of the Zerilli Empire had gone silent. Scouts reported that an unknown predator had attacked the planet, leaving destruction in its wake. The council insisted that Aaron lead a diplomatic mission, ostensibly to negotiate with local authorities, but the real test was whether he could survive the encounter and make decisions under pressure. Aaron accepted without hesitation. He knew that his every action was being observed and that failure would not just reflect on him, but on humanity as a whole. The mission took him to a devastated world, where alien landscapes stretched into jagged mountains and rivers of strange, luminescent liquid. He navigated treacherous terrain, aided survivors, and devised a strategy to protect the remaining colonies. When he returned, the Queen was waiting in the throne room. She did not smile, nor did she speak immediately. She simply studied him, her glowing eyes piercing through his very being. Finally, she said, "You have faced fear, danger, and the unknown. You have shown not only skill, but compassion. That is what my line will need. Courage alone is not enough. Empathy must guide it. Aaron felt a surge of relief and pride. For the first time, he understood that the Queen's choice had not been about strength or authority. It had been about heart. Humanity's value was not in weapons, ships, or numbers, but in its ability to endure, to adapt, and to care even when the odds were stacked against it. Over the following weeks, Aaron and the Queen spent more time together. They trained, studied, and strategized, but they also shared stories of home, of childhood, of fears and dreams. In those moments, barriers faded. Areen learned the subtle beauty of the Zireli culture, their art, their music, and their rituals. The Queen learned about humanity, about resilience, creativity, and the strange, stubborn courage that defined him. One night, as they watched the twin moons rise above the palace, the Queen spoke softly. "I do not know what the future holds," she said, "but I do know that with you I am not alone. That is more than I have ever had." Aaron reached out, placing his hand lightly against hers. "You are never alone, not while I am here. And together, we can face whatever comes." In that quiet moment, surrounded by the stars and the vastness of the alien world, Aaron realized something profound. This was no longer about duty or tests. It was about connection, trust, and hope. Humanity had been given a chance to prove itself in the galaxy, and he would not squander it. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and dangers, but for the first time, Aaron felt ready. Not because he was the strongest, but because he had something that no test or enemy could take away. Heart, courage, and a bond that bridged two species. And in the Queen's gaze, he saw the reflection of what they could achieve together. A future where humanity's light would shine brightly, even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. The palace, once a place of quiet learning and growing trust, suddenly became a battlefield of politics and hidden threats. Not all of the Zireli were pleased with the Queen's choice of a human mate. Rumors whispered through the halls, carried by the tendrils and forms of alien advisors, questioning Aaron's loyalty, his strength, and even his very worth. Aaron could feel the tension the moment he stepped into the council chamber. Elders with iridescent forms shifted uneasily, their eyes gleaming with suspicion. "Lieutenant Vale," one of them hissed, "you are not of this species. How can you understand the responsibilities of ruling or shaping our line? How can we trust a human with such power?" Aaron squared his shoulders, his voice calm but firm. "I do not claim to know everything, but I am willing to learn, and I will act with honor, courage, and care. That is all any being can promise, regardless of species." The council murmured, unconvinced. Then the Queen spoke, her voice ringing like crystal. "Aaron Vale is not only my choice, he is the one who will carry the future of my line. His courage, intelligence, and heart are what our people need. I will not waver." Yet the words of a ruler could not silence doubt entirely. To truly prove himself, Aaron would have to face trials designed to test everything he was, body, mind, and spirit. The first trial came quickly. A fleet of mercenary drones, long thought destroyed, had returned to threaten the Zireli colonies. They attacked without warning, their ships sleek and deadly, their weapons designed to exploit weaknesses in Zireli defenses. The council had expected Aaron to fail, to retreat, to hesitate, but he did not. He led a team to coordinate the defense, relying not on raw strength alone, but on strategy, ingenuity, and quick thinking. He studied the drones' patterns, predicted their movements, and devised a plan that used the terrain and technology of the planets to his advantage. Even as explosions lit the skies and alarms blared through the colonies, Aaron remained calm. He ordered evacuations, directed counterattacks, and inspired the soldiers around him. Where the drones expected fear, they met determination. Where they expected confusion, they found focus. And slowly, against overwhelming odds, the tide began to turn. The Queen observed from the command chamber, her eyes fixed on him. She had seen humans face danger before, but never like this. Never with such clarity under pressure. Never with the ability to think, feel, and act all at once. She felt pride and relief, but also a growing admiration. This human, who had seemed ordinary when he first arrived, was proving himself extraordinary. When the battle ended, Aaron did not celebrate. He walked among the survivors, checking on the wounded, offering words of reassurance and comfort. His actions were not those of a conqueror or a soldier seeking glory. They were the actions of someone who cared, who understood the stakes beyond victory or loss. The council, once so skeptical, could not ignore the evidence. Even those who had opposed him silently began to acknowledge his courage and wisdom. One elder, who had openly doubted Aaron from the start, finally stepped forward. "He has shown not only skill but heart," it said. "Perhaps humanity has qualities we have underestimated." Aaron returned to the Queen, exhausted but unbroken. "It is done," he said simply. She reached out, her tendrils brushing his shoulder lightly. "You have done more than survive, Aaron. You have shown the strength of your species, not just in battle but in heart. This is why I chose you." For the first time, Aaron understood the full weight of his journey. He was not only proving himself to the Zerili, he was proving humanity's place in the galaxy. Every decision, every action, every moment of courage and compassion was a statement. Humans could endure, adapt, and rise above challenges no one else could face. But the challenge was far from over. The Council would continue to test him, rival factions would plot against him, and greater dangers would rise in the galaxy. Yet Aaron no longer feared failure. He had faced the first trial and he had survived. More importantly, he had done so with honor and heart. That night he stood beside the Queen on the palace balcony. The stars stretched endlessly above them, and the air shimmered with alien light. She looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting both pride and affection. "You have faced the first storm," she said softly, "and you have endured. But storms will come again. Will you stand with me, human, when the next challenge rises?" Aaron took a deep breath, feeling the exhaustion in his muscles, the ache in his chest, and the fire in his heart. "I will stand," he said firmly. "Not just for you, not just for your line, but for humanity. We will endure. We will rise, and together we will face whatever comes." The Queen's eyes softened, a gentle glow spreading through the air around them. "Then you are ready," she whispered. "Not just as my mate, but as the one who will carry the future of my people. Together, we will shape the galaxy." Aaron nodded, feeling the enormity of the promise he had made. The path ahead would be filled with danger, doubt, and uncertainty, but he no longer feared it. He had discovered something stronger than fear: the courage to act, the wisdom to endure, and the heart to connect across worlds. And in that moment, as the twin moons of the Zerili planet rose above the palace, he knew that humanity's light had begun to shine among the stars, bright, unwavering, and extraordinary. Months had passed since Aaron Vale's first trial, and the palace of the Zerili had grown tense once more. The Council's whispers had not faded. If anything, they had grown louder. Some elders, unwilling to accept a human as the mate of their queen, began plotting in secret. Their words carried danger, their schemes designed to undermine Aaron's every action. Yet the Queen remained steadfast, her trust in him unwavering. One morning, the alarm sounded. Not the minor warnings of a distant colony, but a direct threat. A rogue faction of the Zerili, seeking to seize power, had attacked the capital. Ships blazed across the sky, and the palace trembled as explosions rocked the crystalline walls. Aaron rushed to the command chamber beside the Queen. Her glowing eyes met his, filled with concern and determination. "This is the ultimate test," she said. "Your courage, your decisions, your heart, everything will be judged today. Are you ready?" "I am ready," he replied, though a knot of tension tightened in his stomach. He had faced battles before, but this was different. This was not only about survival, it was about proving humanity's worth, about showing that a human could rise to face impossible odds and still act with honor. The battle began with precision strikes from the rogue fleet. Their ships moved with deadly efficiency, aiming to break the palace's defenses before reinforcements could arrive. Aaron coordinated the response, issuing orders, directing forces, and predicting enemy maneuvers. His mind worked with speed and clarity, balancing strategy with the unpredictable chaos of war. Yet even as the battle raged outside, internal threats emerged within the palace. Members of the Council attempted to sabotage communications, mislead defenders, and turn soldiers against him. Every step Aaron took required caution, intelligence, and trust in those willing to follow him. Hours passed. The sky burned with light as ships collided, and the ground shook from the force of energy blasts. Aaron moved tirelessly, never allowing fear to cloud his judgment. He tended to the wounded, reassured the frightened, and inspired those around him to act with courage. In each decision, he demonstrated a balance of intellect and compassion, proving that humanity's strength lay not only in survival but in care for others. The Queen observed from her throne, silently measuring his every action. She had seen humans act heroically before, but Aaron's performance was extraordinary. He did not seek glory, did not act recklessly. Every move was calculated, every choice deliberate, and every act guided by a heart willing to risk everything for the greater good. As the battle reached its climax, a rogue commander breached the palace gates, seeking to strike directly at the Queen. Aaron did not hesitate. With a small team of trusted defenders, he confronted the enemy, his movements precise and fearless. The fight was brutal, testing every skill, every instinct he had honed over months of preparation. Yet he prevailed not through brute strength alone, but through clever tactics, quick thinking, and the willingness to protect others at any cost. When the last of the rogue fleet was destroyed, silence fell over the palace. Smoke drifted through the halls and debris littered the crystalline floors. Aaron stood among the defenders, exhausted, battered yet unbroken. The Queen approached him, her glowing form radiant in the aftermath. "You have passed the ultimate test," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion, "not only in battle but in spirit. You have shown courage, wisdom, and heart. You have proven that humanity is capable of greatness beyond what we imagined." Aaron bowed, his chest heavy with relief and pride. I only did what I could. Humanity has always faced impossible odds. We endure, we adapt, and we rise. I did not act for myself, but for our future." The Queen reached out, her tendrils brushing lightly against his shoulder. "And in doing so, you have changed my life and the lives of countless others. Your species has a place in the galaxy, and you have secured it with your courage." In that moment, Aaron understood the full magnitude of what had occurred. He had faced not only external enemies but internal doubt, political intrigue, and the weight of an entire species' expectations, and he had succeeded. Humanity had not only survived, it had proven its worth in the eyes of one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The Council, silent at first, now began to nod in acknowledgement. Even those who had doubted him could not deny his skill, his bravery, and his heart. Murmurs of respect spread through the hall, and the tension that had once filled the air slowly began to lift. That night, Aaron and the Queen stood together on the palace balcony, overlooking the twin moons of the Zerili world. The stars stretched endlessly above them, silent witnesses to a human who had faced the impossible and prevailed. "You have done more than survive," the Queen said, her voice filled with warmth. "You have shown what it means to be human. I am proud of you." Aaron smiled, feeling the exhaustion of battle give way to a quiet, deep satisfaction. "I only did what I had to, but together, we can do even more. Humanity, your people, and our future, this is just the beginning." The Queen's eyes shone, reflecting the moons and stars. "Then let us walk forward together, human. Whatever the galaxy throws at us, we will face it as one." And for the first time, Aaron Vale felt not only the weight of duty, but the joy of possibility. Humanity had been tested, challenged, and proven. And now, standing beside the Queen, he knew that the future, bright, uncertain, and extraordinary, was theirs to shape together. The battle was over, but its echoes remained in the halls of the crystalline palace. Smoke had cleared, and the sky above the Zerili world glimmered with the calm after the storm. Aaron Vale walked through the palace corridors, his steps steady, though his body bore the marks of exhaustion. Every scar, every ache, every bruise was a reminder of the trials he had faced, not for himself, but for a future that now felt possible. The Queen awaited him in the throne room. Her radiant form seemed even more luminous after the chaos, as if the trials had sharpened her presence rather than diminished it. When her glowing eyes met his, Aaron felt a mixture of relief, pride, and something deeper: connection, trust, and hope. "You have proven yourself beyond doubt," she said softly. "Not just to me, but to your species, to the Council, and to all who doubted humanity. You have shown that courage, heart, and intelligence can triumph, even against impossible odds." Aaron bowed, humbled. I only acted as any human would. We endure, we adapt, and we rise. That is who we are. I did not act alone. The people of your species, your trust, and your guidance made this possible." The Queen stepped closer, her tendrils brushing lightly against his arm. "No human has ever been so trusted, so revered, and so loved in our history. You have changed the course of my people's future, Aaron Vale. and together we will ensure that this legacy endures. Over the following months, life in the palace began to settle into a new rhythm. Aaron and the Queen worked side by side, not only governing but planning for the future of their line. A line that would carry both human and Zarelli qualities, merging courage, intellect, and compassion in a way no one had thought possible. The council, once skeptical, now acknowledged his wisdom. Allies and rivals alike saw the value of this human, not just as a mate but as a symbol of what humanity could achieve. Aryan had proven that even a single human with heart and courage could influence the galaxy in ways that technology and strategy alone could not. One evening, Aryan walked among the hybrid gardens the Queen had created, where the first children of their union would one day play. Plants shimmered with alien light and the air was alive with the quiet hum of life. He imagined those children growing strong, blending the best of both species. They would inherit resilience, intellect, and empathy. They would inherit hope. The Queen joined him, her presence steady and reassuring. "Do you see them?" she asked softly. "One day they will carry our line, our values, and our hopes into the universe. Your courage, your humanity has made this possible." Aryan looked at the horizon, feeling the vastness of space stretching before him. "I never imagined I would stand here like this," he said. "But now I understand. Humanity's place is not just on Earth or even among the stars. We belong wherever we are willing to rise and endure. And this is our chance to show the galaxy who we truly are." The Queen smiled, her glow reflecting the twin moons above. "And you, human, have shown it firsthand. You have reminded me and my people that strength comes not only from power but from heart, from trust, from courage that refuses to surrender." As time passed, Aryan became more than a human among aliens. He became a symbol of hope. Other species began to see humans differently, not as primitive or reckless, but as beings capable of great endurance, wisdom, and compassion. Reports of his trials, his courage, and his victories spread throughout the galaxy, inspiring other humans and other species alike. And in the quiet moments, when the palace was still and the stars shone above, Aryan and the Queen would stand together, looking out at the universe. They did not speak of politics, battles, or councils. They spoke of dreams, of family, of the children who would one day carry their legacy. They spoke of humanity's resilience and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The first hybrid children were born under alien skies, their tiny hands and glowing eyes a living testament to the union of courage, compassion, and wisdom. Aryan held them close, feeling the weight and joy of the future in his arms. Humanity had proven itself not by conquest but by heart, by determination, and by love. The Queen looked at him, pride and affection radiating from every gesture. "We have begun something extraordinary," she said. "Not just for our line but for the galaxy. Together we have shown that humanity's light can shine brighter than any star." Aryan smiled, the exhaustion of battles and trials replaced by quiet satisfaction and hope. "It is only the beginning," he said. "And together we will face whatever comes. Humanity will endure, humanity will rise, and humanity will shine." Under the twin moons and the endless expanse of stars, the human and the alien Queen stood side by side, their hands intertwined, their hearts united, and their future secured. In the vastness of the galaxy, a new legacy had begun, a legacy of courage, love, and humanity's extraordinary spirit. And in that moment, Aryan Vale understood what it truly meant to rise above fear, to endure, and to prove that even one human could change the course of the universe. Humanity had been tested, humanity had endured, and humanity had triumphed.